Have you ever argued with someone, only to realize hours later that you were actually fighting your own mind? Think about it for a moment. Your mind can convince you that you are not good enough, or it can make small everyday problems feel absolutely enormous. It can replay one embarrassing moment from 5 years ago over and over again late at night. And here is the scary part. Most people spend their entire lives believing every single thought that pops into their heads. But an important truth can change everything. Your mind is an incredible servant, but a terrible master. When you learn how to take control of your thinking, your fear turns into real confidence, your stress turns into quiet peace, and your entire life begins moving in a brand new direction. Welcome back to English Growth Stories, where we practice simple English listening while learning practical wisdom for a better life. If you want to build your confidence and grow every single week, please take a second to subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, and join our learning community. Our mission is to help you master English naturally while building a calmer, stronger, and more positive mindset. Now, let us begin today's journey together. Consider the story of a young man named Jack. On the outside, Jack looked like any other ordinary young adult trying to build a good life. He worked at a small office in a busy town, dressed neatly, and smiled politely at his neighbors. But inside his head, a continuous, silent war was happening every single day. Jack woke up every morning, and before his feet even touched the cold floor, his mind was already racing with heavy thoughts. What if I make a terrible mistake at work today? What if my friends do not truly like me? Or what if I am completely failing in life? These scary thoughts did not come from any real danger around him. They came directly from a nervous, noisy, and uncontrolled mind. His body felt tired before the day even began. His heart beat a little faster, and a sudden wave of deep anxiety filled his small bedroom. Notice how quickly a single negative thought can change your physical reality, even when nothing dangerous is actually happening. When you allow your mind to run on automatic mode, it will always look for potential danger. This is an ancient human reflex meant to protect our ancestors from physical threats long ago. But in Jack's modern everyday life, this survival mechanism had turned into continuous overthinking. Whenever he received a short message from his boss, his mind immediately created terrifying stories about what he did wrong. When he saw pictures of old classmates online who seemed happier, his mind whispered that he was falling behind in life. This is what happens when the mind becomes your master. It tells you who to be angry at, what to be afraid of, and when to feel completely hopeless. It creates imaginary arguments that never happen, causing real pain inside your heart. Over time, this pattern of constant overthinking quietly destroyed Jack's self-confidence. He stopped trying new hobbies because his mind warned him about potential failure. He pulled away from good friends because his mind told him that nobody truly cared. Small decisions became exhausting because his brain created 10 terrifying scenarios for every single choice. He lay awake late into the night, staring at the ceiling while his mind looped through past mistakes and future worries. It felt like driving a powerful car where the steering wheel was locked and the gas pedal was stuck down hard. He was moving fast, but he had zero control over where he was going. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Jack made a small mistake on a work report. It was a simple error that could easily be fixed in 2 minutes. But inside Jack's head, his mind exploded with panic. "You are useless," his mind shouted at him. "Everyone is going to laugh at you. Your life is ruined." The emotional noise became so loud, so overwhelming that Jack reached a breaking point. He packed his bag, walked out of the office building, and kept walking until he reached a quiet public park at the edge of town. Jack sat down on a cold wooden bench near a small pond, dropped his head into his hands, and began to weep quietly. He felt completely defeated by his own thoughts, exhausted from fighting a silent battle inside his head every waking hour. Sitting a short distance away was an elderly man named Thomas. Thomas was a quiet gardener who spent his days tending to the flowers, trees, and walking paths in the park. He had spent decades observing nature, and he possessed a deep, peaceful presence that put people at ease. Thomas watched Jack gently for a few moments, then slowly walked over and sat on the far end of the bench. "Is the heavy weight inside your head feeling too heavy to carry today, my young friend?" Thomas asked softly, his voice as calm as a quiet morning breeze. Jack looked up, wiping his eyes, shocked that a stranger could see right through his pain. "I feel like I am losing my mind," Jack confessed, his voice shaking. "My thoughts never stop. They tell me I am not good enough. They make me angry, afraid, and tired every single second. I try to fight them, but the harder I fight, the louder they get." Thomas smiled with deep compassion and pointed toward a small, muddy stream flowing nearby. "Look at that water," Thomas said gently. "When a heavy storm hits, the rain stirs up the mud at the bottom. The water turns dark, cloudy, and chaotic if you jump into the stream and splash your hands around to clear the mud. What happens?" Jack thought for a moment. "You just make the water muddier," he replied. "Exactly," said Thomas, "but if you simply sit quietly on the grass near the bank and leave the water alone, something natural happens. Slowly, the heavy dirt settles down to the bottom. The water becomes completely clear again, and you can see straight through to the riverbed. Your mind works in the exact same natural way. When you are angry, stressed, or confused, your thoughts are like muddy water in a storm. If you try to fix your life problems while your mind is chaotic, you will only make the water muddier. You will make poor decisions based on temporary fear rather than true wisdom. But when you learn to sit quietly and observe your thoughts without jumping into them, the noise begins to clear naturally. This is the moment of ultimate discovery. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the person who is listening to the thoughts. You are the quiet watcher behind the noise. Let this deep truth sink into your heart for a second. Just because your mind creates a thought does not mean that thought is true. A thought is simply a temporary mental event, like a small cloud floating across a vast blue sky. A dark cloud may bring heavy rain for a short period, but it is not the sky itself. The blue sky is always there, quiet, still, and calm behind every single storm. When you realize that you are the sky and not the storm, you stop fighting every cloud that passes by. You can look at a negative thought, acknowledge its presence, and let it float away, without letting it ruin your peace. Jack listened intently, feeling a small spark of relief in his chest for the first time in months. "But how do I train myself to rule my mind every day?" Jack asked. "How do I take the steering wheel back?" Thomas picked up a smooth stone from the grass and handed it to Jack. "Your mind is an incredible servant, but a terrible master," Thomas explained. "To train your mind to serve you, you must practice 4 simple daily habits. First, create a clear space between the trigger and your response. In everyday life, something happens. Someone speaks to you rudely, or a plan falls apart, and you instantly react. Your mind fires off an automatic emotion, like sudden anger, defensiveness, or panic. But wise people practice a short 2-second pause. They take a slow, deep breath and remind themselves that they have a choice. You cannot always control what happens outside of you, but you can always choose how you respond inside. That small 2-second pause is where your true personal power lies. Next, label your thoughts with kind curiosity instead of fear. Instead of believing a painful thought like, "I am going to fail at everything," you simply say to yourself, "My mind is having the thought that I am going to fail right now." Do you hear the important difference? In the first sentence, you are totally trapped inside the feeling. In the second sentence, you are standing outside the thought, observing it like a calm spectator. When you observe a thought without judging yourself, its emotional power over you quickly disappears. You realize it is just a suggestion from your nervous brain, not a command you have to follow. Third, direct your focus toward what you can actually control in this present moment. Your mind loves to worry about the future or feel deep regret about the past, but you cannot change what happened yesterday, and you cannot live in tomorrow. The only place where you possess real power is right here, in this present moment. Ask yourself a simple question whenever you feel overwhelmed. What is one small, positive action I can take right now? When you shift your mind from worrying to taking action, anxiety naturally gives way to calm determination. Even a tiny step forward, like cleaning your desk, going for a walk, or writing down your feelings, can break the cycle of overthinking. Finally, practice daily gratitude to retrain your brain's natural habits. By nature, our minds are trained to notice missing things and potential dangers. If you leave your mind untrained, it will naturally focus on negative details all day long. But when you intentionally take 2 minutes every morning to name 3 simple things you are grateful for, you slowly rewrite your mental software. You might be grateful for a warm cup of tea, a kind word, or simply the fresh air in your lungs. Over time, your mind starts searching for goodness and opportunity instead of problems and fear. Jack stayed in the garden with Thomas until the afternoon sun began to set, soaking in every word of wisdom like dry ground drinking in gentle rain. When he finally stood up to walk home, the heavy storm inside his chest had settled into a quiet, peaceful calm. Over the following months, Jack practiced Thomas's lessons every single day. It was not always easy, and negative thoughts still visited his mind from time to time. But whenever a wave of overthinking arrived, Jack remembered the muddy stream. He took a slow, deep breath, paused for 2 seconds, and observed his thoughts like clouds passing across a wide blue sky. When a difficult situation arrived at work, he no longer panicked inside his head. He looked at the problem calmly, like a chess player examining the board. When someone criticized him or spoke with cold words, he did not let their negative energy enter his heart. He understood that their harshness came from their own noisy, hurting mind, and he chose to stay peaceful. Jack no longer compared his quiet behind-the-scenes life to other people's highlight reels on social media. Because he was completely focused on his own path of steady personal growth. This internal shift changed everything in Jack's external world. His relationships became much stronger because he listened with deep patience instead of reacting with quick anger. His work performance improved dramatically because his mind was no longer distracted by endless imaginary scenarios. His self-confidence grew naturally, not because he thought he was perfect, but because he knew he could handle whatever life threw at him. He was no longer controlled by fear, anger, or doubt. Because he had become the quiet, confident master of his own mind. To summarize what we learned from Jack's story today, your mind is an incredible, powerful tool designed to serve you, not to run your entire life. By practicing simple awareness, taking a short pause before you react, observing your thoughts without fear, and choosing your focus with intention, you can replace daily stress and overthinking with lasting inner peace. Now, Take a moment right now to reflect on your own daily life. Which negative mental habit has been controlling you the most lately? Is it overthinking the future, quick anger, fear of failure, or constant comparison with others? We would love to hear your personal reflection. Please leave a comment down below sharing one simple way you plan to rule your mind starting today. Reading your reflections always inspires our entire global community of learners. If this lesson brought light and value to your day, please give this video a like, share it with a friend who might need this encouragement, and subscribe to English Growth Stories with the notification bell turned on. Thank you so much for listening today. Keep practicing your English with joy and confidence. And remember to always stay curious, keep growing, and take good care of your mind until next time.